So let us talk about images for the website. Now, what you will be doing when you select images for your website is what we call curating. You will be curating a collection. So there are things that you need to pay attention to, and in this video we will go over them, and then at the end we will also look at how you would be adjusting and resizing the images in Photopea before you put them into Wix. So on the main Wixtrix site, on the left I have all of these links for free image portals. There are two kinds. There are solid ones, and then there are also transparent background ones, for which I will be doing a separate video actually. Let's stick with these for now. I have already opened them. So we have Pexels, we have Pixabay, we have Unsplash, and we have Freepik. And Freepik is especially very good for background images, and also food images. If you're making a website that has to do with food, it's excellent for that. So what you would be doing is you would be making a collection which is for your website. So I've made one here already. It is called the Angry Cat website. I'm going to delete this eventually when this class is over, obviously. And I have collected the images that I think I want to use in this collection. So there are certain commonalities in these images. They are all colored images, that's one. And obviously I have cat images, I have exercise images, and then with the exercise images I have two kinds. I have two that are happening in a studio somewhere, in the same location actually, and then I have two that have open air backgrounds behind them. So I would either be using these two or these two, because these have the same style, these two have the same style, and then these two have the same style. So I would not be picking this and using them in the same website, because they are stylistically different. So when you are curating a collection, these are the kinds of things that you have to pay attention to. Do the images actually fit with each other? Do they have the same style? So, for example, another example, I would be maybe using this image and this image together, because they are both photographs. They are not colorized. They don't look like as if they were made by a computer, although this one very obviously is, but it doesn't give that feeling. Or I would be using this and this together, or this and this together, or this and this together, or this and this together. But I would not be combining this with this, because this is a colorized image, and we will get to that in a minute. So if I were to pick two here, I would maybe pick this and this, because these two again have the same style. They are both these colorized images, they are both blue. Or I might pick this and this together, because although this is a colored image and this is a colorized image, they still have the same style because of all of these social media buttons which they both have. So they have something in common. So that is what you need to pay a lot of attention to, is that your images, particularly the ones that are on the same page of the website, but the whole website in general, have the same style. That they don't, like, some of them are black and white, some of them are colored, some of them are colorized, some of them are computer manipulated images, some of them are direct photographs. That kind of a mixture you don't want. You want things to have a stylistic consistency, and that is how you pick your images. Now, the way that adding an image to a collection works is like this. So let me just search for something here, and let's say I want to add this image to the collection. I would need to add it from here, and then it goes, and let's say I want to make a new collection. So the only way that I can create a new collection is by actually clicking on an image and deciding to add it in here. So I would be writing, I would click on this, and whatever I want to call it, I would just give it a new name, like let's say Angry Cat version 2. So now this has gone into that thing, and this is the way it works on all of these portals. This is the add button. You click, and then you create a new collection. So let's say Angry Cat website. Well, I did, didn't I? Yeah. So now this image is in that collection. And again, I would be searching for whatever it is that I'm searching for. Let's say I'm searching for avocados, because I do have avocados in that website. So I would be whatever avocado photograph I want. Let's say I want this one. So I just add it to here. So that's how the collection thing goes, how it works, and what you need to pay attention to. Were we here? Yep. We go back to here. And the thing that we, again, I want to repeat this, the thing we need to pay attention to is that our photographs are of the same style. It is not just the subject matter that is important, it is also the style, the visual look of the photograph that is important, what the color scheme is, what the background is like, things like that. So again, this is a really good example here. I would be using this and this together on the same page in the same website, or this and this, but not this and this, because these are stylistically different. So that's the important thing to pay attention to. Or for example, I would use this cat and this cat together because they both have blurry backgrounds. It's not just a question of the cat. And I would be using this cat and this cat and this cat together because they are close-ups. We don't see much, but I would be using this cat and this cat together because again here there's a blurry background. But this cat, if I crop it differently, could also work with these here. But this here and this here would not really work well together because this is a different style. It's not just a question of that this cat is screeching and angry and this cat is just looking at us. It's not just the subject matter, but it is also the style of the photograph that is really important.
Once you have your collection assembled, and I have added more images by the way since you last saw this, and I have more of them on another page. So now I'm actually up to almost 50-60 images, or almost 90 images. You need to download them and then you need to edit them, and you can do that either in the Wix editor or you can do it in Photopea, and I'm going to show you both ways. Now what you need to do is you click on one, you go to free download, and you take the largest size. So by default it'll be at 1920 by whatever, but don't use that, take the largest size. And there's a reason for that, and we will get to that in just a minute when we get to Wix. So I would click on this and I would press download, and then it would appear on my computer, although I am not going to do that because I already have all of these downloaded, and in fact, as a matter of fact, I even already have all of them uploaded to Wix. So what I just did, let me just redo this for you. Here on the left menu is this little kind of like a mountain thing, and that's the media tab, and so you just go here and you go to upload from computer, and then you go to wherever your images are, and then that's how you do it. But I already have them here. I already brought 5 large-sized images from the collection that I had on Pixabay to here. So now I'm first going to look at how we would be editing these in Wix, because Wix actually nowadays has a pretty good photo editor. So you can just go to here, or you can click here and then go like that. Either way works, but I'm just going to go crop and edit, because the first thing that I want to do is I actually want to make this narrower so that I can put it in a strip. So I'm going to come down to here, and I'm going to go up to here, and then what I'm going to do, however, is now we downloaded a pretty big image, if you will remember, but what Wix does is that it by default it compresses the images, it makes them smaller, and the largest size that you can go is actually 3000, and that's what I'm going to do now. So sorry, let me just show you that again. After I cropped it, there's image size here, and then you say resize image, and you need to check these. Well, actually, it's you can't even uncheck it. I think it's there by default. And then I'm just going to do this. So I just raised this to 3000, and then this is something like a little bit over 2000 pixels. But the image quality will be fine, because the original image that we uploaded to Wix is actually pretty big. It's, let's see, let's remember, sorry, this is not the one that we're looking at right now. This is the one that we're looking at right now. So when you look at the free download, it's 3456 pixels, that the thing that I downloaded. So what we actually have here is a pretty good image quality. So I can't raise this any more than 3000. That's the maximum size that Wix will allow me, so that's what I'm going to have to do. Now that I've resized it and I've cropped it, let's go and look at all of these other things that you can do here. Now, one of the things you can do is you can click on Enhance and just do this. It's an auto enhancement, and Wix will automatically try to adjust the values, the contrast, the you know, the darkness, the lightness, whatever. However, I don't really like that, so I'm just going to go Control Z and go back to how it was, because I think I can do this much better by myself. So now there's a lot of values here, and the one that I'm going to use first, so we have brightness, we have contrast, highlights, shadows, etc., etc. But the one that I'm going to use first is exposure, because I want to brighten this image up a bit. So in fact I'm going to take it quite a bit across, and I also want to improve the highlights a little bit, but I also want to not lose the contrast, and I'm being quite careful with these sliders, as you can see. And now here this kind of like a little bit too much saturation, so I think I'm going to actually either go towards the blue value. If I move this all the way across, it's going to get very blue, and if I move it all the way across, it's going to get very red. But if I just go a tiny bit into the blue area, then I think this might actually start looking better. But I'm also going to decrease the saturation just a tiny little bit. So, and in fact, when I decrease the saturation, I think I'm going to make the temperature go back to 0, but then decrease the saturation just a little bit. Now, what else can you do? You can add a vignette, which means that it will add a dark area around the image, but I don't want that. I'm just showing you. You can add grain, which means that the image would get like a noise value, but we don't need that. This is a very nice clean image, so we don't need a grain with that. The grain we usually need when the image is not quite perfect and we want to kind of like cover some blemishes, some artifacts. Now there's a whole bunch of filters that you can use, that you can try out. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what they do. Let's see, like if I do this, then it becomes brighter. Do I want that? No, not really. Do I want it to be washed? No, because I can do all of those things myself. And then these kinds of things I would absolutely advise you to stay away from. They will really cheapen the visual quality of your website. So these kinds of things, please be really careful, and don't think that these will add anything to your work. They won't. They will just kind of cheapen it. That's the best way that I can describe it. Now you can add text to this here, but I wouldn't do that. I would do that on the actual page itself. And then there are these things called overlays, and some of these are actually nice. Now you can add, let's see, you can add light effects, and you can also move this light effect around. So, and then you can also, what you can do is you can change the intensity of the overlay, but I don't want this. So let's see. So there's another one like this here, there's another one like this, like, oh, and then they have leaks, so light leaks, which again you would be able to move around, I suppose, but I don't want any of those things. I want my original image to show you some more. Now there's some nice grunge effects, such as, for example, these lines and blemishes that you can put. Let's see, what else do they have? They have other ones. Now these I would have no problem with you using, because these are these do look very nice. You can have fog effects, so again you can move this around if you want to. Again, these are quite nice. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be using more, and there's more when you open them up. There are reflections where you can kind of like put like a window reflection or something like that. These I'm not too crazy about, to be honest with you, but the shadows are nice. So again, you could change the area, the location of the shadow, and then there are other kinds of shadows that you can add, and then they have bokeh effects, which are these kind of light effects that I don't know. I mean, I'm not too crazy about this one, but I guess. And then they also have prism effects. So let's take a look at one of these. No, these I'm not too crazy about either. I think I'm just going to stick to my original image. So I think that's kind of covers what we have for the Wix side of things. So let's save this, and it'll save a copy. It won't harm the original. The original will stay there as it is, but it'll just save a new copy, and here's the copy, and here's the original. So now, however, there are certain situations where there are certain images that you would not be able to do much with on Wix. So again, let's look at this one. This is a good image for that. Now this is a pretty light image, and I might want to make this more contrasty. I might want to make this a little bit more visible. Again, I'm going to crop it to strip size, and this is 3000, so there's nothing that I would be able to do with this here. So there's no point in clicking on resize image because it's already up at the maximum size. Now if I click on enhance and just try and see what it does, it won't do much, I don't think. Let's just wait and see and find out. Yeah, it didn't really change much of anything, did it? Let me just do a Control Z, and no, nothing changed really. Now if I go to adjust, if I decrease the exposure, yes, it will start making the background and stuff more visible. However, I'm also going to start losing detail on the face, and that is not something that I want to happen. Now again, if I decrease brightness, it's just going to make it gray. It's not going to really look very good. If I decrease the shadows, again the nose disappears, and also I could actually use making the nose even lighter. So there's not much I can do here in terms of improving upon this image. So this one I would need to actually look for a solution for, not here on Wix but in Photopea. So I'm just going to say cancel and go to Photopea. I have them right here. So that is this image. So here we are. Now I'm not going to crop this here. I'm going to do that in Wix. That's going to be better to do in Wix. However, what I want to do with this image is I want to keep the face and just make everything else a little bit darker, but keep the face in the exact values that we have right now. So once you open the image, go to here. This is the lasso tool. When you click on it, go to polygonal lasso tool, because that will make it easier for you to work with the mouse. If you have a tablet, then obviously you don't have that problem, and then you can use that as well. Hold on, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roughly select this area here, because this is the one that I want to keep, and then just connect this. And now I need to make this soft, because right now if I start playing around with the values here, it will be a very stark difference, and I don't want that. What I want is I need to give this a feather. So you go to select and you go to modify, and then you go to feather, and the keyboard shortcut for that is actually Shift F6, except I'm not quite sure if these keyboard shortcuts actually work as well as they do in Photoshop. Now we need to give it a pretty big feather, because, hold on, let me just close this, because the image size here is actually pretty big. It's almost 3,500 pixels. So from here to here, this image is 3,500 pixels, which means that we would need to have a pretty big feather in order for this to be a smooth transition. So I'm just going to go back to feather, and I'm going to give it a feather of 60. So it's a 60 feather, and I'm not going to check this apply at canvas bounds, because I only wanted to apply to here. Now I'm going to go inverse, because I want to keep this as it is. I want to make everything else darker. So now it has selected all of this area here, and this area is not going to get affected. I don't want to see these squiggly lines here. I want to be able to work without them, so I just hide them, and the way that you hide them is show hold on, selection, it doesn't say that here, so it is a bit different than Photoshop, but it should be Control H. Yeah, exactly. So now I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Curves. Now there are there's a number of ways of making something darker or lighter in Photoshop, but one of the best ones is curves. When it opens, it just opens in the RGB channel, and if you bring this down, now as you can see, the area around the cat, and I can make this get dark, 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 and as you can see, the center of the face is not getting affected at all. Obviously I don't want it to be that dark, I want it just to be a little bit darker, so maybe like so, and that would be one way of doing it. Now let's just go back in the history palette and just look at how this worked. Now let's try another way. Exposure would be another way of doing it, and what I would do with this one is I would just move this back, and again it would darken everything outside of the face area, because the face area is masked, it isn't getting affected by what I'm doing here. So again, as you can see, the face isn't getting affected, everything else is getting darker. But exposure also adds some black, it grays things out, so it is not as good as the curves. So, but I'm going to show you one more. Then we have the levels, and with the levels what I can do is I can increase the black, but then it'll become very highly contrasted. So let's close this as well, and let's go back to the curves. Oh, there's brightness and contrast, let me show you that as well. But again, brightness and contrast will add some black or some sort of muddiness to it. It's the same, it works a little bit like exposure. It'll kind of muddy things up. So the best way to go is with the curves. So I'm just going to go back there and just do this because this will be a very nice soft way of darkening this area around the cat's face. So okay, but now what I'm going to do is here I actually want to make this a little bit lighter, but not all of it, just the nose and this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect, so deselect is Control D. Now we still have the selection, so if I go Control H we can see it. I'm going to deselect that, but now I'm going to go back to the curves, sorry, the lasso tool, and I'm just going to go in here just like this, just this area here, and again I'm going to give this a feather, but this time it's going to be less. It's not going to be 60 because this is a much smaller area, so I'm going to make it 30. Again, I'm going to go Control H, and also what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a bit so that I could actually see exactly what I'm doing, and I'm again going to go back. This time I'm going to go to exposure actually, because exposure works quite well when you are lightening things up. Doesn't work very well when you are darkening things, but it works really well when you're lightening things up. And here, as you can see, now the nose and this area here is becoming much more visible. So I'm just going to go OK, and so now we have the updated cat. So what did we have in the beginning? It was like this, so it was a little bit vague, and I made this more visible. I made it more contrasted and now all I need to do is I need to go export as JPEG, and I'm going to raise the quality all the way to 100, and it downloaded it. I'm not sure if it... oh yeah, it downloaded it right here. It downloaded it onto the desktop because since I got it out of a folder, I wasn't sure whether it would actually put that back in the folder, but obviously it hasn't. So now I would really basically just upload that. And then once we've uploaded it, we can just compare the two and see how which one will actually work better. So this is the new one. It came up here because it always puts the new thing at the start. So now I'm going to go to crop and edit here. I didn't do that in Photo P, and I'm just going to bring this down to here, bring this up to here, and then go save, and it'll give me a new copy which I can then put into the page, and I will show you how to do that in just a few minutes. Bye for now. Now we come to the part where we actually look at how we use these images in Wix. So let's go to the site files from the media thing, and one thing that I made a mistake in the previous video, and I'm going to rectify that now. I cropped the image before I actually adjusted the values, and what I should have done is I should have done it the other way around. I should have actually adjusted it first and saved it like that. So I'm just going to do that again now. I increased the exposure, I decreased the saturation a little bit, I increased the highlights, if I remember correctly. I also increased the contrast just a tiny little bit, and then I saved it. So the reason why I'm doing this again and making a point of showing you that I've done it again is because we can now crop this image to fit into a strip, and we will look at that in just a minute. So let's just add this to the page, and here it is. Now if I want to crop this image differently as a picture, then all I need to do is I need to click on these crossed rulers here. This is the crop thing, and then I can just adjust it in any way that I want. I can also increase the size, and then I can move it around inside the rectangle, and then when I say apply, then voila, here's a new image. However, what you can also do is you can go here and you can use one of these shapes to actually give your picture another kind of framing. Now some of these are pretty silly, like this Mickey Mouse here or this Pac-Man and things like that, but some of them are actually quite nice. In fact, here at the bottom we have these fluid things which I think are really nice. So let's try this one here. Now again, with this one I can increase the size. I can come like this and I can say apply, and then here we have an irregular shaped image. Now let me put this to the side here. Let's add another one. So how about this cat that I had made? So let's give her a crop. Sorry, wrong place, here. again, we can increase this if we want to. We can move it around, and let's say apply. But now what we can also do is Wix just alerted me that I put something outside of the grid. I can also make this much bigger, and as you can see, the quality is still very good. There's still no problem. And let's check the quality of this one here. And here we also don't have any problem at all. This is a squeaky clean image. Okay, however, now let's do something else. Let me just move this down here. Let's say I want to put an image inside a strip. So I'll just take this one here. This is the one that they have for the photographs. Let me make this a bit bigger. So I go to change strip background, image, site files, and again, let's put this one. Now, what will happen here is that because this is a huge big image, no matter how I position it, it's not going to fit correctly. And that is why we need to crop these images if we want to put them inside a strip. Okay? So, let's go to the media library. Open this one here and crop it. But then also resize it. Bring it up to 3000. And then if I press the tab key on my computer, on my keyboard, then it'll just automatically switch to here and also adjust the height. And now I'm going to say apply. And also, incidentally, you can also flip things. Not that I want to do that right now. You can rotate the whole. Oh, let me see what that does. Oh, okay, it does that. I don't want to do that either. Okay, so I'm just going to say save. Now I'm going to close this. Go to change strip background. And now I'm going to take this cropped new image, because that is actually going to sit in the correct place. Now, with strips, you can also add animations. And one of the reasons why I made this image 3000 pixels wide is because there are certain animations. So let's just go here to the scroll effects, such as the close-up, for example, or the zoom in and zoom out. These three here especially are the ones that are important for this, where the image is going to change. It's going to get bigger and smaller as you zoom in and out. Now, this only works if the strip is actually lower down the page, because you need to be scrolling for this to actually take effect. So I'm just going to bring it down here, and let's give it a preview and see what happens. So as I'm scrolling down, as you can see, the image is getting bigger and bigger until it finally fades out. Now there are other animations that you can have, such as the parallax, for example. So let's give that one a preview, where the page sort of slides over the image, and this is a very, very pretty effect that you can use with images and strips as well. So, what else do I need to tell you about how to use images in Wix? I obviously need to talk about irregular shaped images, the PNGs, and I will do that in the next video.